JustHazzardous Academy. What is going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a great, wonderful, and amazing day. It's your boy Just or JustHazzardous, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at a video. Yes, we're going to be watching a video and reacting to the full story of Verdansk. As you guys know, with this new Season 3 update, Verdansk is now back and is the permanent Warzone map. So I thought, like, why not actually take a second to really learn about Verdansk? Because granted, Verdansk holds a special place in my heart, but I really don't know anything about Verdansk, like the origins of Verdansk, where it came from, really the POIs, like why the POIs are in Verdansk. I really don't know anything about that. And me personally, I consider myself a COD nerd, a bookworm for COD. So, you know, why not take a second and, you know what I mean, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I'm also about to eat something as well, you know what I mean? Got a little chicken nuggets, little tater tots. So we're gonna be a little bit of a big bag, but we're also going to really pay attention and lock into learning and understanding the full story of Verdansk. If you guys like these type of videos, please be sure to drop a like. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel because we did just hit 2.5K subscribers. Shout out to the love, shout out to the support. We're live on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/JustHazzardous. You know what I mean? That's the chat over there. You know what I mean? So without further ado, let's get into this video.
A lot of you are probably pretty excited for the release or relaunch of Verdansk. Now, a lot of people are excited because maybe the memories, maybe the gameplay, and maybe you're worried about what the meta is going to be like or the gameplay or anything like that.
Are we good, chat?
If you know me,
are we good? Are we good? Levels good?
I like the story of Call of Duty. I like the story of video games at that. And the best story out of all of Warzone, without a shadow of a doubt, was Verdansk. Today, I'm going to take you on a walk through memory lane.
We good?
Going
Yep.
over
All right,
the entire story of Verdansk, so you know exactly what the history is behind this map on day one. And the interesting thing about Verdansk is to know the whole story, we have to go back. And a lot of you may think this is the beginning. Or a lot of you may even think this was the beginning of Verdansk.
I think we'll all remember this moment. Some more fondly than others.
But once again, you would be wrong. To see the beginning of Warzone, we gotta go back, way back, all the way to the year 1984.
Okay. Definitely was not expecting us to go this further back, or this far back, but all right. I'm rocking. Jeremy, what's good, baby? Oh yeah, that was a Verdansk 1980 something. I think it was 1984. Okay.
The Cold War is where Verdansk truly began. But to fully understand it, we gotta go back a little bit further than that, to World War II, because at this time, Verdansk was occupied by German forces, and they built an underground system of bunkers beneath the city, stockpiling weapons and ammunition. However, as the war went on, the bunkers were abandoned by the Germans and barricaded off.
Okay.
Now, at some point during the Cold War, someone by the name of Imran Zakhaev was working in Verdansk, specifically working on Nova gas in Verdansk inside the bunkers. Now,
I
as
remember
well as
that.
having Nova 6 gas, they also had nukes and ICBMs in this bunker as well. Now, it was about this time where Imran Zakhaev and Perseus kind of had a disagreement. Perseus clearly had extremist values, but it was only a matter of time before he turned the world against the Soviet Union. So Imran Zakhaev didn't want him getting his hands on the nukes, getting his hands on the Nova 6 gas, so he sealed off the bunkers. Now, it was in early 1984 where the current leader of Perseus died and Stitch took over, where his grand scheme took place. It was at this time where Stitch, or Victor Cruzman, would capture CIA agent Russell Adler in early 1984. Now, at this time, they would take him to Laos for several months to try to interrogate him, get information out of him. When that was failing,
They beat the brakes off of Adler, bro. Do y'all remember that? they beat the skin off that man.
Took things to an extreme measure. At this time, they took him out of Laos and brought him to Verdansk. All the while, on June 3rd, 1984, Stitch sent 2 of his operatives to Mount Yamantau to get the Dragovich program. This was essentially the set of numbers that Alex Mason was brainwashed all the way back in Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Well, yeah, Stitch wanted to get his hands on that. And indeed, they did. And after escaping from Yamantau, they worked their way to Verdansk, where they would use the number sequence, first of all, on Russell Adler, but they had bigger plans in mind. And that was not just brainwashing individuals, but brainwashing entire nations, with the goal of creating something known as a Greater Russia. In other words, making the entire world Russia. And it was at this time that Frank Woods broke into the medical facility where Adler was being held and brought him out to safety. But just like Alex Mason in Black Ops 1, we didn't know whether he was now a sleeper agent, brainwashed, or whether he was still a good guy. Now, at one point, Stitch knocks some satellites out of orbit, and Adler actually ends up recovering the data on the satellite. It is shortly after this, in July of 1984, that Adler discovers abandoned German bunkers within Verdansk. And at this time, he's secretly drilling into them and eventually gets inside and sees the stockpiled ammunitions. On it, he places seismic charges because he knows that the only way to stop Stitch is to destroy Verdansk. Also, if Stitch was to find out about the bunkers, he would use the Nova 6 gas, the missiles, and the stored munitions in a much, much worse way. And well, needless to say, he blows up Verdansk.
Adler, we have unfinished business.
Mason, Woods, and Hudson don't know whether or not Adler is on their side or on Stitch's because his actions are completely off the grid. So they bring in Russell Adler and do a whole deprogramming sequence like they did on Alex Mason in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, but this time on Russell Adler. And once they know he's fully de-brainwashed, they go in after Stitch. Needless to say, they end up putting an end to Stitch.
Adler, you took your time.
It's over. Your sick experiment is done.
12, 19, 14.
Don't waste your breath.
Doesn't
I'm
work.
clean.
I figured.
Stupid bitch.
It was worth a try. My work was finished before your little act of rebellion. This changes nothing.
Tell me where Perseus is.
You never understood.
He gonna tell you,
Perseus
bro.
was never one man. It's an ideal. Bigger than any of us.
Well, spare me your horse shit. Where the fuck is Perseus?
Right here. Cancer took him in '83.
No.
A great man with great vision. He was not the first Perseus, just as I will not be the last.
You're coming with me. There's blood on your hands.
Big words from the Scourge of Verdansk.
Fuck you. I wasn't in my right mind. You saw to that.
You Westerners, so squeamish. Look at where we are. This was the Eastern Front. The blood of millions of my people so deep into this soil. Men and women who paid the ultimate price for what had to be done.
You're a fucking monster. I should kill you for what you've done.
Quick question. Where was this cutscene? Was this in Cold War? I'm gonna be honest. Call me, you know what I mean, low-key a fake COD fan. But like, if I have the option to like skip cutscenes in like Call when we get like a new season update, or like you like open a Warzone and you know what I mean, like you know how like you get a new season in Warzone and then they always give you like a new cutscene. I usually skip that because I'm a streamer. Excuse me. So I'm trying to hurry up and get to the game. But like, When was this? It was in Cold War. Yes, it was in Cold War. Did I miss this? Cause didn't we just go back? Well, not just go back, but we went back a little while ago and played Cold War and beat it. Did I miss this scene? That's crazy, bro.
What you did to me. My life no longer matters. Do what you will. Finish what you started on Rebirth Island. My broadcast was complete. I have changed the world, Adler. In ways you can't even imagine.
Bow!
So at this point, Verdansk has already been completely destroyed due to Russell Adler once. Hence, in Modern Warfare 2019, when Nikolai says this to Captain Price, Kate Laswell, when referring to Verdansk.
This place was nice once, but it's not anymore. East and West rebuilt Verdansk after the Cold War.
So they rebuild Verdansk and Kastovia is rebuilt. However, there's a lot of people who aren't so happy about this, specifically Russian ultra-nationalists, someone by the name of Roman Barkov and another person by the name of Vladimir Makarov. Fast forward to April 6, 2019. Makarov and his inner circle invade Verdansk. Now here's the thing, we don't fully know the reasoning for this. We can assume, since Vladimir Makarov is an ultra-nationalist and supports the Soviet Union, he didn't like Kastovia being taken over by Kastovians. He wanted Russia to own it. Specifically, we believe that he was working for Roman Barkov. I have many videos explaining how exactly that happened and why that happened, but needless to say, it's never straight up said that this was his reasoning, but this is the best that we understand. So, he invades Verdansk, and specifically, he goes into the stadium and places a bunch of bombs, and that's exactly where Captain Price, Soap McTavish go in to stop him, and eventually they end up capturing Vladimir Makarov. But as it turns out, the stadium was all a distraction. The plan the entire time was to invade the airport, to stop anyone from getting in or out of Verdansk. And as they extract Makarov, they look out the window to see exactly what happened.
I think we'll all remember this moment. Some more fondly than others.
Now, believe it or not, this is insanely similar to what's been going on in the real world with Ukraine. It's almost the exact same thing that happened with the invasion of their airport years prior. If you want to see the similarities and differences with those stories...
What? Oh, that's crazy.
To see the real world story of Verdansk, show me by hitting that like button. It's a video that I'd really like to bring you guys, and let me tell you, the similarities are absolutely uncanny.
Well,
so
not what's going on, but like the similarities and like how it was really based off, that's tough.
Throw Makarov into a gulag and seemingly problem solved, right? Well, not quite, because at this point Verdansk is completely destabilized after the attack, leaving them open for once again another invasion. But first, a couple of events need to happen. First off, I kind of explained to you that it seemed as though Vladimir Makarov was working under someone by the name of Roman Barkov. He was the main villain within Modern Warfare 2019. And as far as his backstory goes, he hated a couple places. First of all, Urzikstan, that's what happens with Farah Karim and the people of Urzikstan, the Urzikstan Liberation Forces, and overall, pretty much the entire story of that. But he also hates Russia, believe it or not, because of the fall of the Soviet Union. He's an extremist, an ultra-nationalist, just like Vladimir Makarov. And because of this, with Kastovia, and specifically Verdansk, being out of the reach of Russia, Russia wants to take it back. So we see people like Barkov and people like Makarov, who are extremists, try to take it back. But by the very end of Modern Warfare 2019, we take out Barkov, leaving a power vacuum for someone to take over. And believe it or not, Imran Zakhaev, who we talked about earlier, actually died. He died due to cancer. However, someone who didn't was his son, Viktor Zakhaev.
Zakhaev wants Barkov's throne.
I almost buried him in Pripyat with Macmillan.
That was the father. This is the son, Viktor.
lovely family.
And he had kind of the same beliefs as Roman Barkov, but this time he has a plan. He wants to team up with someone and a group of people by the name of Al-Qatala, who is led by someone by the name of Khalid al-Assad.
Come over the body with a hoodie down, stupid bitch.
Al-Assad working alongside someone by the codename of Mr. Z, who he thought was Imran Zakhaev, but really was Viktor Zakhaev. They have invaded Verdansk. So, our group of soldiers, who included Kate Laswell, Nikolai, Captain Price, and Komarov, make a plan to go in with a group of soldiers from a bunch of different nationalities by the name of Armistice. So, two sets of soldiers, Coalition and Allegiance, are supposed to be working together. However, as we see in the Season 1 cutscene for Modern Warfare 2019, that doesn't really work out. Nikto and Mara end up facing off against each other in the middle of the street. All the while, Khalid al-Assad is watching and is happy that these soldiers are already turning against each other, because this is all a part of his plan. So it's almost as though Captain Price knew this was going to happen, but because before they even moved into Verdansk, he was asking for a task force of soldiers that he could trust.
Who's your crew?
Sergeant Gary.
Kyle?
They call him Gaz. He never said anything.
Ghost.
John Tavish, SAS, sniper, demolitions, goes by SOAP.
Yep.
Why?
It's classified. There he is. Simon Riley.
There's no picture.
Never. Not a
Y'all know who that is. That mother freaking man, bro.
rest. That's neat to know. Unless we got a deal.
What are you calling this task force?
141.
So after this, we see Captain Price ask for soldiers he can trust, and in turn, he gets Simon Ghost Riley.
The best operator in Call of Duty history. I don't care. I don't care, bruh. Every time you see him, I'm going to tell you he's the best. He's the greatest. There's nobody else but Ghost. Simon Riley. Hey, I'm telling y'all this right now. One day, I'm going to end up playing COD together with the actual voice actor of Ghost. I'm telling you this right now. Remember I said this. It's on documents, on file, because this video is going to be going up. Just remember I said this.
Sent in to the airport of Verdansk. Now the crazy part is when this cutscene came out, Verdansk and Warzone had not yet launched, but it would be shortly after that where it did, and we'd finally get to see the landscape of Verdansk and exactly what was going on here. Later on, Captain Price gets more soldiers he can trust, the next one being Alex, and it is at this time where the Coalition and Allegiance completely fall apart, and Armistice has fallen. And at this point, we found out why. You see, at this point, Viktor Zakhaev was smuggling weapons through his father's company, known as Zakhaev Arms. Yes, I know that name is quite ironic.
Yep.
But he is smuggling the weapons to Al-Qatala, who's being run by Khalid al-Assad. After this, we find out via intel, which, if you don't know what that is, basically at the time, there was bi-weekly challenges that were added into the game where you could find intel and it would reveal story about the game. Some of the pieces of intel tell us that the Zakhaevs were actually paying off various members of the Allegiance and Coalition to cause problems and split them apart, and it was working. Now, it's also around this time where Viktor Zakhaev actually tells Khalid al-Assad to leave Verdansk on a train. I don't know why, and to this day, years later, we don't know where Khalid al-Assad went. I have other videos talking about whether or not Hadir was Khalid al-Assad, but needless to say, we still don't have an answer for this. But Khalid al-Assad is now gone, and Armistice now needs a new plan. Their plan is to hire their own soldiers, specifically with a group of soldiers bunkers who would become a bigger part later in Modern Warfare 2, which was Shadow Company. Shadow Company moves in, goes to Stadium.
This is
and
how
literally
Lurch comes
blows
in.
the roof
Okay.
off of it.
Lurch to Rose. You ready to start this fire?
Always. You know
And
that.
Rose. Okay, okay, okay. And this is how Stadium gets blown up. Okay, okay. So this is how the stadium ends up getting blown up. Okay, I'm following you. I'm following you. I'm following you. Hey, if y'all have not already, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because this video is actually like breaking my brain now. I'm just saying.
This is lit. Let's let ourselves in.
Copy. Spark.
They do this because they believe Alcatala is staging inside, and they clearly are. So finally, they bring in Farah and Nikolai into Verdansk, but it's at this time that Viktor Zakhaev is getting increasingly close to the nuclear missiles underneath Verdansk. Those bunkers that were created by the Germans within World War II, yeah, he's got his hands on those. So our whole crew of Task Force 141 needs to come into play. Which, by the way, this cutscene that you're watching here launched out of nowhere. It wasn't with a season, anything like that. It was with the final pieces of intel for Verdansk in 2020, and I think that is really, really cool. So, Task Force 141 moves in, and Captain Price ends up in the same bunker as Viktor Zakhaev.
Whew. The freak out of here.
Victor. Captain Price. I am not surprised. You're a dead man, Zakhaev. I started a war. Killing me won't stop it. Oh, I won't kill you. But the full world wait. All stations.
Oh, Price is cold. Price is cold, bruh. He cold. He cold, bruh. That's hard.
Nick, I need the codes
That's
now.
hard.
Copy. Use contact flow.
6,
1,
1,
5.
5. Say again.
Yo, come on, bruh. Yo, come on, bruh.
Say again. I've lost you, Nick. Bloody hell, Nick. The last digit.
Help! Help!
7, 6, 1, 5, 7.
Boy, man, yo, come on, man. Don't do that, bro. Don't do that again. Don't do that.
Call signs this net. Launch is terminated. Mission accomplished.
So it's at this point that Task Force 141 is quite nearly fully in Verdansk. However, they are missing one last person.
This isn't over. Not by a long shot.
McTavish to actual.
So, what's your position?
Have a click off the coast. Things are really heating up out here.
Hold tight. We're moving your way. On me.
So Task Force 141 is fully there, and they let us know that their job isn't quite done. Now, I want to be clear, after this point, we don't know exactly if this is canon. But I'm going to tell it as if it is, but just keep in mind that this part might not be. And we may get more information, and hopefully we get more story once Verdansk is launched here just in a few weeks. But up until this point, this is how Verdansk is, well, put to an end. Because it is at this point, when Task Force 141 is fully there, that a ship, a ghost ship, washes up on the coast of Verdansk just outside the Gulag. And as it turns out, there is something inside that ship. A gas that was made on Rebirth Island has now surfaced. And what it's doing is it's turning people to zombies. A certain percent of the population at a time just keeps turning into zombies until the outbreak is too much. It can no longer be controlled. Task Task Force 141 can't stop it, so watching from the outside on Rebirth Island, a decision is made. The nuclear launch codes are put in, and Custovia, specifically Verdansk, is completely destroyed.
Containment protocol has been initiated. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I go insane when I'm with the king. I can't be played. Yeah, I've been making moves in my life, moves that can't be explained. I'm switching these lanes. Yeah, I gave him the will. It took me a while just to change. Yeah, Holy Spirit in the veins. I seen that he's able to stop acting like Cain. Yeah.
All down, left, right, found the sheet code. Rubbing too easy, it feel like a free throw. I built my home on a boat like it's depot.